Oh, hello, eighth graders. Oh man. I'm glad Caesar showed up. Let's talk about chapter 12, where we're headed. A chapter I'm so sorry we're going to have to fly through because we just don't have the time, my friends. But chapter 12 is all about reform. Right around this time in the 1800s, there's a big push for reform, specifically social reform. What's reform? That's a good question, Caesar. It's just a fancy word for change. Around this time in American history, Americans look around and think there's some things we can change to make our life better here in the United States. So, Caesar, I want you to think who, United States, 1800s, who might be pushing for change or reform that their life could be better in the United States? Mm, slaves? Yeah. If I was an African American living in the United States in the 1800s, I would push for change. Specifically, I would want to end the practice of slavery. And that's one of the reform movements you're going to read in chapter 12 is the abolitionist or abolitionism. This is a movement to end slavery. You're going to meet people like Frederick Douglass, a former slave who became a famous speaker, who denounced it, traveled the country, implored people to end slavery. You're going to meet people like Harriet Tubman, soon to be the new face of the $20 bill, a conductor on the Underground Railroad who helped thousands of African Americans escape. Sojourner Truth, a lot of cool people in the abolitionist movement that you're going to read about. Again, chapter 12 is about reform, change. Now, who else might be pushing for change in the 1800s, Caesar? Women? Yeah, women are also kind of second class citizens in the 1800s. They basically stand next to their husband. They can't vote. They can't own property. They can't hold office. They can't hold most jobs. So you're going to meet some pretty cool women who are pushing for equality, women's rights, mainly suffrage, the right to vote. And so we'll see how that reform movement goes. We're also going to see a thing we call the temperance movement, prohibition. The fact is, my friends, a lot of Americans during this time have a drinking problem. Ruh-roh. Yeah, it's pretty sad here, Caesar. Water, it was hard to find clean water. It was often contaminated. Whiskey was cheaper than milk. And because of that, a lot of men developed drinking problems. They weren't very good husbands. They weren't very good fathers. So the temperance movement, the movement to try to end alcohol abuse, was mainly a movement led by women and would lead to prohibition, a total ban of alcohol. So we'll see that reform movement. Again, maybe Americans can be less drunk. Dorothea Dix up here. She pushed for reforms for prisons and the mentally ill. And you're thinking, those poor prisoners. Yeah, but Caesar, they were kept in some pretty horrific conditions. Literally like cages, not adequately heated, not adequately fed, left in uncompromising positions for long hours or with strange devices attached to their heads, chained to their beds. Again, conditions that many would find inhumane. Dorothea Dix pushed for reform or change so we could become a better society. And then finally, the last reform movement that we'll focus on in chapter 12 is education, change in how we school and educate the people of this country. The fact is, around this time, we're still pretty dumb. Most of us can't read or write. Most states don't have any laws requiring education, except who, Caesar? Massachusetts. Yeah, Massachusetts was the leader in education. So if you don't like school, blame them. But anyway, we're going to see change in how we educate society. So reform, it's just a fancy word for change. When you guys are in high school, you guys will study civil rights reform, a further movement to try to get equality for African Americans in this country. And there's reform movements going on in this day right now. Think of the LGBTQ community who are fighting for equal rights, the Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movements, environmental issues, trying to get us to change how we live our lives that way, the opioid epidemic, how we treat prescription pills, and maybe we should change that, gun control, political parties. Reform is still going on in 2020, my friends. Change. Again, how can we make society better? That's what we're focused on in chapter 12. So you do your part, read those 3 sections, answer those questions, And then what we'll see, you'll see what we'll do for a final product tomorrow, all right? Thank you for watching this video. Caesar, you got anything for the good of the group? No. All right. Bye-bye.